Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. All right. Sorry about that. Some stuff was going on the YouTube screen there, so I had to deal with that for a moment. I'm going to go off camera here for a moment because I got one more thing to take care of real quick, but I will be right back. But I will put some music on. I'm gone. All right, there we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Monday, June the 16th, 2025. Hopefully, everybody had a good weekend. Hopefully, you guys had a chance to check out last night's comic retrospect. Of course, Apex and I had a pretty good discussion after we got through the readings on, on how, comics were developing at that point in time. Hopefully, you guys had a chance to catch that. Maybe, gave you some food for thought on some things. And we were drawing some comparisons between, comics that were coming out back then and comics that are coming out now. What else can we talk about here? Of course, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream to see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions best of my ability. We're coming up on 3 minutes here. I guess I'll get around to finally talking about what's on tap for tonight. So we are going to. I am going to go over 4 articles today from 4 articles. 2 of them from ETV Tunes and 2 of them from Bleeding Fool. So we got a couple profile pieces. One, I don't know if you guys, for those who may have grown like me, grew up watching the Super Friends, particularly during the all new Super Friends hours in 1976. They had a segment on there focusing on the crash. I'm gonna take a look back at those a little bit. There was kind of a little profile article. Hey, do you remember those? Site. Also, I guess another portion of Lucy Bliss, the late great Lucy Bliss's interview, the voice of Smurfette, talking about the unconventional recording session they had with the Smurfs, and plus, of course, we got a couple of articles on Bleeding Full. One talking about some stuff going on with Massive Publishing as well as Marvel Comics. So, got 4 articles. Of course, we'll do the wrestling wrap up, get all caught up on this past weekend's event. We'll look back to Friday Night SmackDown. Triple A, the Mexican promotion that is also now owned by TKO, that was recently bought out. They had their Triple Mania event, which did have some WWE and TNA talent on there. Moose defended the X Division title there, and there were some title changes as well of interest. So we'll go over that. Also, look ahead to tonight's Raw. Also, there's some bit of bad news for AEW came out today. So with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started then? Let's get to the articles here. Get to the first article here. And of course, at the end of the show, we'll do the This Day in Niche History segment for you guys. Looking back to what happened on this day in Niche history. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. Let's get to the first article here we're going to go over. All right, so do you remember the crafts from Super Friends? Did you make these when you were a kid? Article published June 12th, 2025, which was last Thursday, I believe, by Me TV Toon staff. So there you got Wonder Woman right there, and Aquaman, of course, voiced in this all-new Super Friends Hour by Shannon Farnan and I believe Bill Calloway. So let's go ahead and get into this. The original Super Friends aired in 1973 and was promptly canceled in 1974. While the show was put out to pasture as a one-season wonder, fate would have it that the Super Friends were destined to return to television once again as the all-new Super Friends Hour in 1977. The success of other programs like The $6 Million Man and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, of course, they're talking about in that particular case the live-action Wonder Woman with Linda Carter, reignited network interest in making another season of Super Friends. The Hanna-Barbera team was excited to bring the Super Friends back to life, but they knew the new show needed to stand out and keep viewers. What would set them apart from all the other cartoons? Plus, with this second installment of the Super Friends franchise, they were making, well, actually the first installment was an hour as well. The original 73 was an hour, and then this one was an hour. Then all the ones after this, they shot them down to like half hour. So and again, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream so we get some more friendly people here to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions best of my ability. So let's get back to the article here. I'm sorry. Crafts. They decided each episode should include a segment focused on a craft or magic trick taught by one of the Super Friends to engage the viewers at home. Now, this is part of a set of vignettes they did. They had some craft vignettes. They did, as they mentioned there, magic trick. They had health and safety segments as well. So, and they had also a decoder segment. So, but they had quite a few things, much like what we've been seeing in the Golden Age comics, other things other than just the main stories to keep people's attention, keep people interested. So, yeah. They also included segments on safety, first aid, and riddles. Yep. Some of these crafts, in hindsight, seem lame. Each craft used everyday household items and needed to be safe enough for kids to recreate at home. So they were fairly limited. Let's take a look at the many crafts of the Super Friends. Wonder Woman's disappearing coin. Now, this is one of the magic segments here. This was the first magic trick of the show. Wonder Woman starts by covering a glass with a paper, um, placing it over covering glass with a paper, placing it over a coin, and saying a magic spell, lifting the paper off the glass, and the coin disappears. How does she do it? She tapes a piece of colored construction paper, in parentheses here, that matches the table onto onto the um, onto the lid of the glass, covering up the coin. These were kind of fun to watch, even if they were kind of, as some people might. Um, Aquaman Sun Rattler. Do you need some rhythm in your life? Decorate 2 paper plates, then fill one plate with dry beans and glue the other plate on top. Um, Let it dry overnight, and in the morning, according to Aquaman, you've got a terrific rhythm instrument. That's fun for fun. That's fun anytime. Look, you see right there, the smiling faces. Look at that, all the smiling faces. Aquaman's paperboard trick. This magic trick is confusing and unimpressive. Um, but here's how it goes. Aquaman places a thin piece of wood on a table, spreads a newspaper over it, and then breaks a board with a stick. How is this a magic trick? According to Aquaman, spreading the newspaper over the board, quote, the greater surface area now resists being moved into the air. Now, yeah, even though they presented this as a magic trick, this is a bit more basic. It's more a science thing, more a little bit of science know-how. Um, you know, um, even though the paper in of itself may not be super heavy, you spread it out over space there, then the greater surface area, may give it a little more oomph, give it a little bit more structure, as it were. 4. Wonder Woman's yo-yo. A little girl's teacher told her to, quote, make something for school, unquote, with a random bag of junk. And Wonder Woman says, quote, you have the makings of a yo-yo here, unquote. One woman's trash is Wonder Woman's yo-yo. She uses an empty thread spool, a piece of string, 2 container lids, and some tacks. They tie the string around through and around the spool, and then she uses a rock to hammer in the tacks. Interesting way to turn junk into a toy. Superman's model telescope. Superman makes a model telescope by using 4 thread spools and a straw or a stick. Let's see. He instructs to take the spools and line them up on a stick, glue them together as they stack, and paint with brown poster paint and yellow paint for the gliding. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Oh, were you wondering how you see through this quote unquote telescope? You can't. It's a model. Superman even says, quote, for looking at, not through. uh, well, I mean, it's more model, obviously bringing about the whole idea of model making, right? Making models like, in this case, a model telescope as opposed to, like, let's say a model ship, model sailing ship, right? Now remember, on some of the things we're talking about with some of these crafts, or magic tricks, you know, magic and science, you know, are somewhat intertwined, right? Um, Wonder Woman's floating cup. Wonder Woman balances a glass of water on a single playing card. How does she do it? She cheats. She glues half of another card onto the back and then folds it out when she places the glass on top. Maybe this is impressive for a regular person, but for someone with superpowers, this left us wanting more. Well, okay, here's my answer to that though. On that, okay, the idea was they were trying to they were trying to show crafts that kids could easily make, right? So, yes, if this was just simply something where, okay, Wonder Woman is going to show us some magic, and show, yeah, if it's just because, it seems kind of lame for something for Wonder Woman to do with her powers and her, her Amazonian heritage and all that, probably does seem kind of lame. If you're looking at it that way. But if you're looking at it from a perspective where she's trying to show you something that a kid can do, right? Then it's not so lame. Which is what these segments were more or less about. They weren't just about engaging. They weren't just simply about um, engaging the audience, which was kids. It was also about giving them some you know make him think and do things, make him think and maybe want to do things. Want to try this stuff, right? You know, I mean, I do remember, and I don't know if they'll hit upon it here, but I remember I think one of the crafts they do here has to do with, in fact, I think they do, has to do with what you can do on a rainy day when you can't go out and play. So, anyways, Aquaman's disappearing coin, number 7 here. And as I said, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. As we of course continue on here onto the next thing here. Aquaman's disappearing coin. Deep in the bottom of the ocean, Aquaman finds a hidden treasure and decides it's the perfect time to teach a sleight of hand trick. Aquaman says to rub some wax on your fingernails, on your nail of your middle finger, put a coin in your palm. And slowly close your hand so that the nail with the wax can stick to the coin. Now it looks like it disappeared. It's very interesting sleight of hand trick there. Superman's scissor sorcery. There's another confusing, quote, who would even be impressed by this, unquote, magic trick. But he cuts the ends of a sealed envelope, then slips a piece of cardboard through, then cuts the envelope with scissors without harming the cardboard. The trick? He cut a secret slit in the back of the envelope to slide the cardboard through. Let's see. So he could cut the envelope while cutting around it. Now, okay, so here's the thing. Maybe today people wouldn't be impressed by this, but you never know. Maybe back then, the kids might have been a bit more impressed by this. Sometimes in simplicity, there's some entertainment there. I think a big part of it too is just the fact that Superman was engaging with the audience. Probably. All right, Wonder Woman's pencil top, number 9. This craft uses cardboard, a coffee can, and a pencil and markers. Trace a circle around the coffee can. Cut the circle out, and decorate with markers. Take a pencil and push it through the center. According to Wonder Woman, quote, when you spin it on paper, it makes designs, unquote. Do we think that would work in real life or just in cartoons? Well, it might be fun to still try it. It might be fun. It might be a fun little project to try. See if it does work. That's the whole point of these little segments, right? Batman string phone. Now this is kind of a classic one. This one that's been used time and again on this one. 10 episodes in, and we finally get a Batman craft. Batman and Robin make a two-way phone with cups, buttons, and a string. Basically explain the basic idea of how sound travels across distances, right? More of a craft there. And this is something that a lot of people have done before, I'm sure. Okay, number 11. Robin's mysterious egg trick. Another magic trick here. Robin takes a purse from the audience and empties it, and then has everyone check to make sure it's empty. Robin pulls an egg out of an empty purse. How did they do it? When they checked the purse to be empty, Batman hid the egg in the purse. Again, another kind of sleight of hand trick here. Number 12, Aquaman's glass trick. Aquaman wraps a glass in newspaper. Then places the wrapped glass over a magic coin. Then he says the glass will disappear right now, and and smashes it. But it's just a newspaper. He explains the trick is to let the glass fall out of the newspaper and into your lap while the audience is watching the magic coin. Again, sleight of hand there. Aquaman's piggy bank. Number 13. Mm-hmm. While recycling, Aquaman realizes a plastic bottle kind of looks like a piggy bank. He decorates it with a marker, then uses a sharp pencil to poke a hole in the back. In the back. Then he threads a pipe cleaner through the hole to make a curly pigtail. The last step is to glue the empty thread spool. Is to glue empty thread spools to make the feet. After drying, just put your spare change in the in by screwing off the lid nose. Kind of a cute little project there, huh? 14. Batman's napkin trick. Is this a magic trick or were the writers running out of ideas? Batman hands Robin a wrapped up napkin and tells him to rip it in half. Now, this is probably more of a sleight of hand magic trick that's more like more of a it's more of a magic trick that's used to show kind of a more of a scientific theory, probably when it comes down to it. Robin can't. Then Batman can. Batman dipped his finger in a glass of water and wet the napkin so he can tear it apart easily. Now, granted, that's more of a sleight of hand type of magic trick because, unless you're paying attention real closely, like the Batman's hand, you're usually not gonna know because if your focus is on Robin, trying to snap the napkin in half, you're not gonna see Batman dip his finger in water before he gets the napkin back, and then just goes like that and it rips. This is the one I was talking about, the one about the whole rainy day aspect of it. So, Wonder Woman's indoor rocket. The kids are bored on a rainy day, but Wonder Woman has a solution: an indoor rocket. All you need is fishing line, straws, rubber balloons, and tape. Tie one end of the fish line to a doorknob, and then weave the other end through a plastic straw and tie it to a chair. Blow up the balloon and tape it to the straw and let go. The balloon should, quote, blast off, unquote, to the door. Now, I don't know what they thought of this too much back in, let's say, 1977, 78, when this stuff was being shown. In regard to the idea of, now granted, the Super Friends are probably considered, very trustworthy adults and all that. But, today with what we know about things, I don't know if the whole idea of any adult, even a super friend, just walking into somebody's home like that and all of a sudden just interacting with your kids like that would go over too well, even if it was a super friend. You know, not saying, of course, that any of the super friends would do it had any bad intention or anything like that, but just with the times we're in now, that's probably something that would probably be raising hell for a lot of people. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, and there we go with that one. So that's that article. And now let's get ready to move on to the next one. There, I'm going to move on to the next article here, which is this one I talked about earlier. Oh, yeah. So Lucille Bliss revealed the unconventional behind-the-scenes recording of the Smurfs. The Power of Smurf Village, published today by MeTV Tunes. Now, Lucille Bliss, in case you guys don't remember, because we did an article on her last week as well, that was the voice. That's the woman who voiced Smurfette back in the 1980s Hanna-Barbera Smurfs cartoon. So, Lucille Bliss loved playing Smurfette, and in interviews about the behind the scenes of the Smurfs, she provided key insight into what she felt set the production apart from other cartoons. In an interview with the Leader Post, Bliss described Smurfette's recording schedule. Quote, the cast would gather at Hanna-Barbera Studios, while director Gordon Hunt would lead the script read. After questions and discussion with the actors, they moved to the recording studio, where all the Smurfs would stand with music stands around one or two microphones. The Smurfs cast recorded as an ensemble, while most other cartoons recorded each voice actor individually or in pairs. This was no small feat. There are over 100 Smurfs in the village, and at least 10 main characters, including Gargamel. While many of the voice actors voiced more than one Smurf, that's still a lot of people recording around one microphone and recording on tape. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably why you probably needed like multiple microphones, multiple stands. The man managing the large ensemble was Gordon Hunt, a seasoned Hanna-Barbera director who, in his pre-Smurf career, directed cartoons like the Richie Rich Scooby-Doo Show and the Flintstones Comedy Show. Hunt would walk the cast through each episode's storyboards and answer their questions along the way. Bliss recalled that Hunt's schedule meant that each day in the studio resulted in at least 2 episodes of the Smurfs or one television special being recorded. While Bliss mostly recalled the benefits of recording as a group, as she did acknowledge that it was more expensive, quote, if one person goofs and it's in the scene, she said, quote, you've got to do that segment of the scene over. Whereas if you just go in alone and do your part and you goof up a few seconds, you do it over again and you go home, unquote. Even with the shortcomings, Bliss realized the experience of ensemble recording was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No cartoon had done it previously, and the Smurfs was one of the few times it was ever done. Again, they kind of had to do it because you had, so many characters that you were doing even with some actors doing multiple characters, like Frank Welker, Don Messick, I believe. All right. Let's see. Bliss recalled the setup, quote, resembling a symphony orchestra, unquote. And in another interview, this time with the Television Academy Foundation, she included, quote, we would usually rehearse 2 hours for a show, 3 hours for a special. We were an ensemble cast. It's really wonderful because there are so few ensemble casts. It's wonderful because you play off each other, unquote. The community of the ensemble cast wasn't just a fun working environment, but Bliss felt the actors being able to play off each other assisted character development and ensured that no two Smurfs were alike. This helped create the unique, joyful, and memorable Smurfs we still know and love today. Over the 10 years of recording together, the cast grew close, and after the show ended, Bliss enjoyed getting the Smurfs back together to table read episodes for charity events and fundraisers. Watch the Smurfs on MeTV Tunes Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific. And also, I forgot to do this before. Let me go back and do that part real quick. The Super Friends. Let's take a look back and tell you when you can catch the Super Friends on MeTV Tunes. You can, of course, as soon as I get back here, watch Super Friends on MeTV Tunes weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 Central, 12 noon Pacific, and 2 a.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. Pacific. Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 10 Pacific. So you can get quite a bit of your Super Friends. Anyways, getting ready to move on to the next articles, the comic articles here. I do need to go off. You need to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on for you guys when I'm gone. You can find the cursor, of course. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyways, so if you guys haven't already, of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Alrighty then. So, anyways, let's get back to the get back to the articles here. A couple more to go over, but these should be pretty quick as I. So, anyways, so here's the third of the four articles we're doing tonight. Massive Publishing debuts massive pilot, quote unquote, program to support comic creators and fund new series through Kickstarter. Article by Megan Murphy, published today. So, Massive Publishing is proud to announce the launch of its brand new initiative, the Massive Pilot Program, a creator-first platform designed to help comic book creators launch new series by combining the power of crowdfunding with massive publishing infrastructure. The pilot program offers fans and collectors a unique opportunity to support and shape the future of independent comics. Each pilot campaign features a high-end early release version of the series debut and will be produced in limited quantities for collectability. These premium editions will feature upgraded paper stocks, specialty covers, exclusive content, and collectible treatments curated specifically for campaign backers who are investing in the future of the series. So of course, another crowdfunding site basically being started up here, I guess. Let's see. What's your favorite Black Lagoon 2006? Um, I guess you're asking me what's my favorite episode. I don't know. Can't think of any off the top of my head. I did watch Black Lagoon and I did like it, but I don't remember anything off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've watched it, so sorry about that, Bork. But anyways, getting back to the article. I have my problems with Sentai and Funimation dubbing, and they've been bleeping it off. All right. All right. I prefer you go by the last port, Borculus. All right. Well, Borculus. Okay. All right. Noted. Quote, our goal is to build a bridge between creator ideas and reader support, unquote, says Michael Calero, CEO of Massive Publishing. Quote, with the pilot program, fans aren't just buying a comic, they're part of launching it, unquote. Massive Publishing, home to hits like Zorro, Man of the Dead, I Lie Popeye, Detective Kaiju, and Pinup Pinapocalypse. All right, try saying that 3 times fast. Continues to innovate with their approach to independent comics. This initiative gives fans early access to potential breakout series with backer exclusive content, both physical and digital. Series that gain traction will be fast-tracked for full release and direct market distribution. Best of all, 100% of the initial funding goal goes directly to the creative team, covering production costs and supporting creators from day one. The first title to launch as part of the pilot program is The Disavowed, written by Josh Blaylock, whose previous works include Mercy Sparks and G.I. Joe, with art by industry veteran Pop Mahan, Ghost Rider, The Flash, and Spy Boy. This debut issue will set the tone for what the pilot program is all about. Creator-owned storytelling at its boldest, paired with premium production for fans and collectors who want to get in on the ground floor. If you love bold storytelling, killer art, and being part of something new from day one, follow the campaign on Kickstarter and notify when it goes live on Tuesday, June 17th, which is, of course, tomorrow. Alrighty then, so we got one more article we're going to do, and then we're going to, of course, move on to the wrestling wrap-up. Or alternatively, the full name. All right. All right. So Marvel's mishandling of Iron Fist continues unabated by Avi Green, published earlier today. So this is one of Avi's articles, but this is actually one of the shorter ones he's done in a while. So Roy Thomas' creation of Iron Fist is surely one of the most abused by PC cast members in the Marvel Universe by modern writers who can only think of the cheapest ways of script writing around Danny Rand. As the following predictably sugar-coated Pop First report makes clear. And we know Avi has a very critical view of mainstream comics. So, like all good comic book characters, Marvel's original Iron Fist, Danny Rand, died. But like all good comic book characters, it wasn't a permanent thing. And he's okay now. In fact, he's set to become the undead Iron Fist in a new mini-series from creators Jason Liu and Fran Galan this fall. Readers who remember Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, Travel Foreman, and David Aja's absolute banger of a series from the 2000s, The Immortal Iron Fist, already know that there's this ancient text called the Book of the Iron Fist in the Marvel Universe. It stipulates that all Iron Fists will die by age 33. So when Danny died on his 33rd birthday in 2024's Iron Fist 50th anniversary special, it wasn't the biggest surprise, as tragic as it may have been to fans. So now Avi's response to what we just read there. The tragedy of PC writing that overtook Marvel during the 2000s. At the time, Joe Quesada was EIC, executive in charge, is what's insufferable here. After all the damage he caused, if what they're emphasizing now is zombie effects, it's no improvement over what came during the decades in stories centered around Danny Rand, and that a leftist like Fraction was involved on those past tales is telling. Back to the article that Avi is referencing here. Speaking of resurrections, Danny Rand is back this September as the undead Iron Fist to find out why these martial artists died by age 33. And according to Marvel, quote, expose Kunlun's darkest secret and enlighten him and readers alike to the Iron Fist greatest legends, unquote. Personally, if I were Danny, I would want to find out the truth just to spare his successor, Lin Lee, from a premature death. Bruce Lee died at age 33. We can't also lose Lin Lee so soon. There's so much more I want to learn about his family of archaeologists. Talking about the decision to kill Danny only to bring him back, writer Jason Liu said, I was so relieved to not encounter any fan backlash or outrage when I killed off Danny Rand because there was always a plan to bring him back. But we wanted to make the fans wait, unquote. I don't recall my reaction when I saw Danny's death in the Iron Fist 50th Anniversary Special #1, but I probably took a sip of tea and said, quote unquote, about time. Anyways, happy trails to Danny. Now here's Avi's response to that. And this, of course, as I said, was another quickie article. If there's been no backlash, it can actually be because much of the overtime readership, or much of the one-time readership, left years ago after the aforementioned Quesada led us to so much damage, not just to Spider-Man, but to the rest of the MCU to boot. They may have been willing to revive Danny Rand, but if it's as a zombie, as the book title suggests, that's tasteless. And is the writer yet another modern quote-unquote scribe I've never heard of, implying he intends to force some tale establishing Kunlun as more a bad bunch than good for PC reasons. We could do without that. Also, if Liu is saying he was okay with Iron Fist being sent to the Great Reward as though he were something bad, that too is appalling. All right. So there we go. So we got through all the articles we're going to do for tonight. So now we're going to, of course, move on to the wrestling wrap up here. So, of course, we're going to look back to last Friday night SmackDown and also to this past weekend's Triple Mania event. And then look ahead to tonight's, talk a little bit about some AEW news, and then look at tonight's Monday Night Raw. So let's go ahead and do all that. Anyways. So as the WWE, of course, prepares for this weekend's Night of Champions show in Saudi Arabia, this past Friday night SmackDown, back on the 13th, was held at the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, with Joe Testatori and Wade Barrett on commentary. In a first round fatal 4-way King of the Ring qualifying match, Randy Orton defeated Aleister Black, Carmelo Hayes, and LA Knight, advancing to the basically the semifinals coming up at Night of Champions. On the women's side, of having the fatal 4, let's see, you had Jade Cargill defeat Michin, Nia Jax, and Piper Niven in a fatal 4-way match to advance to the Queen. Also, Alexa Bliss advanced to the Queen of the Ring in a fatal four-way, defeating Alba Fire, Candice LeRae, and Charlotte Flair. In between the two Queen matches, the Wyatt Six is duo of Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis defeated the Motor City Machine Guns in a tag team match. The main event in the King of the Ring main event saw Cody Rhodes defeat Andrade, Damian Priest, and Shinsuke Nakamura in a fatal four-way to Vince. So, and then that's all we got for the SmackDown results. Then last night, the 15th, AAA had its Triple Mania Regia 2025 event from the Arena Monterrey in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico. And there were some, of course, some WWE talent there. Flammer retained the Reina de Reina title in a three-way match over Dalise and Lady Shani. In a six-man tag match, La Parca teamed with the Aztec Warriors of Laredo Kid and Octagon Jr. to defeat Los Vipers of Abismo Negro Jr., Hysteria, and Torres. Another six-man or trios matchup, El Fiscal, Mr. Iguana, and Nino Hamburguesa defeated the Tokyo Bad Boys of Kento Nobu-san and Takuma. Now, WWE has had their eye on Mr. Iguana, and apparently his merchandise is selling. They're looking possibly to sign him to a WWE contract and bring him right up to the main roster. Not even go through, because his merchandise is selling, even his little iguana puppet that he has. So, in a four-way match, Moose defended and retained the TNA X Division title over El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr., El Macias, and Joe Hendry. Of course, El Macias is the current AAA Latin America champion as well. In the one title change that happened on the night, the AAA World Tag Team title were defended in a four-way match as Nuevo Generacion Diamante Forastero and Samson defended against Los Garzas of Angel Alberto Pagano and Psycho Clown and TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Nemeth, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, in which Los Garzas won the titles. And the main event saw El Hijo del Vikingo defend the Mega title in a steel cage match against former champion Alberto El Patron. He retained the title as such. So that's pretty much all we got on that. Now, in some AEW news, apparently AEW's gotten itself into some trouble, as there was a crew member back, I guess, on the May 10th edition of Collision who ended up getting hurt during the show as John Moxley shoved him, causing him to hurt his shoulder and all that, in what they described as him going off script. The cameraman was not supposed to be physically involved, and John Moxley took it upon himself to get him physically involved. He was supposed to go pick up a screwdriver to attack Kenny Omega, and decided, I guess, to go off script and shove the crew member down. The crew member, of course, is now suing AEW for negligence, among other things, civil lawsuit. So we'll have to wait and see how that all goes down. And finally, as part of the wrestling wrap-up, of course, we're going to take a quick peek at tonight's Raw, which Adam Pearce will not be at Raw tonight. He's on vacation, so SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis will be filling in for him. So in the last of the qualifying matches, fatal four-way qualifying matches for the Queen and King of the Ring. And this is a bit of a spoil that they'd already done. Asuka makes her return tonight, along with former NXT champion Stephanie Vaquero, Raquel Rodriguez, and Ivy Nile. They'll be involved in the Queen of the Ring qualifying match. And then on the men's side, it'll be Sheamus versus Jey Uso versus Rusev versus Bronson Reed. And two other matches that were also announced. AJ Styles takes on the Judgment Day's JD McDaniel, and then Kairi Sane will be taking on Liv Morgan. So, and it has been reported that Damage Control has been quietly shelved for the time being, with, of course, Bayley splitting off from the group and Dakota Kai being released last month. Now it looks like they're gonna push Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Asuka in different directions. So, but with that being said, now with today being, of course, Monday, June the 16th, 2025, let's take a look back at this day in Niche history. So, let me just. There's only a couple of pieces of history tonight. So, first off, I'd like to wish a happy 70th birthday to Laurie Metcalf. Of course, she's known to most fans primarily for a role as Jackie, Roseanne Connor's sister on Roseanne, and spin-off The Connors. But happy 70th birthday to her. And the reason, of course, she's also done some work in the animation field, including providing the voice of Mrs. Davis in the Toy Story franchise, Sarah Hawkins in Treasure Planet, Lucille Krunkelhorn in Meet the Robinsons, and Donna Ullman in God, the Devil, and Bob. A happy 70th birthday to American actress Laurie Metcalf. As we now get ready to move on to the next piece of Niche history, as on this date, 4 years ago today, back in 2021, the date in the year 2021, 4 years ago today, the 170th issue of Alter Ego went on sale on newsstands from Tomorrow's. It sold for $9.95, was 80 pages. So on this date, 4 years ago today, the 170th issue of Alter Ego went on sale on this date back in 2021. All right. So with that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Let's see. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here tomorrow with more Niche News. And, of course, this Sunday, I'll be joined by the Metal from the Vomitorium to finish off our May of 1940 coverage, looking at comics that went on sale from Street Smith and Night Future Syndicate. Will be, of course, focusing in most of our reading will be done from Shadow Comics. Oh yeah, you forgot. Well, I was gonna remind you tonight, anyways, Metal, when I stopped by and said hi to you on your show. So I guess now I reminded you now. So, anyways, so with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope to see everybody back here. All right, before I do that, well, there goes my reminder, I guess. I'm still going to drop by to say hi. So, anyways, so with that being said, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.